No! No!
Welcome to an Idiot Box, where we watch, rate and rank all forms of media that can be seen on a screen. My name's Samantha, and today we'll be covering the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, ranked from worst to best. So, for this video, I just need to say off the bat, I adore Nightmare on Elm Street, and since today is the 40th anniversary of the original film, I felt it was only right for me to cover this, even though we're outside of the horror month of October. And yeah, I just needed to do it. It just felt right to me. The first film, I will just spoil it now, is my favourite film of all time. And yeah, I genuinely mean that. I know there's better made films, there's better written films, there's better acted films, but for me, the first Nightmare is one of the most important parts of my life when it comes to films. It's one of the reasons why I enjoy looking at and criticising media as much as I do, and even got a degree in film and television production. It's just an absolute classic, so spoiler already, that's going to be at the top of the list. But there's still 8 other movies to look at, so that's going to be fun to do. But before we do that, I do have some disclaimers just for this video. Number 1, I will try to keep each section spoiler-free, but a few may pop in, especially when it comes to sequel stories and the like, where I might need to reference back to previous events. Number 2, if you do enjoy this content, please be sure to like and subscribe for more videos and ring that beautiful bell icon so you don't miss out in the future. And last but not least, I will mainly be ranking these based solely on my personal enjoyment. I know this is completely opinion-based, but it is my video, and if you do have a different opinion, please do let me know down in the comments below. I love to debate and all that kind of stuff and see what other people like and don't like. I know there's definitely going to be a couple of entries here that people don't agree with, and a few that people definitely do, so let me know. But with all that out of the way, let's get straight into the video covering every Nightmare on Elm Street movie. First up is the original Nightmare on Elm Street, and like I said during the intro, this is my favourite film of all time. I know there's definitely some small issues with it, such as the final shot of the film, but honestly, everything else is completely perfect to me. The special effects throughout this film are second to none, in my opinion, when it comes to 80s horror. It's just so well done all the way through. I love the main characters in this one, all 4 of the kids. Really fun. I love how we get to see more of the adult aspects of a slasher film in this compared to a lot of other franchises, which, in all honesty, basically just ignore them. I mean, we'd never even meet Laurie's mum in the original Halloween, and her dad disappears for the rest of the sequels until the remake, so, it's nice to actually see parents involved in this stuff. And, of course, we can't forget your boy Freddy. Robert Englund is incredible throughout this entire movie. Even in this first one, where it's very horror-focused, there's a few good jokes that he makes, such as the "This is God" iconic line, which is a terrifying thing, but also kind of funny a little bit. And the entire scene of him chasing Tina and cutting his fingers off and stuff, honestly, so much fun. I absolutely love it. There's just so many things I could praise about this movie, like this incredible score that's throughout the whole thing, the cinematography and the gorgeous blue lighting whenever it's nighttime and in the dream world. All of the dreams themselves are also really cool. I like how each one feels different and unique. And yeah, like that, I could just praise this movie all the way. Even the ending, which I will avoid most spoilers. Ignoring the final minute of the ending, the rest of it and its build-up and the way Nancy tries to overcome, incredible. It's just so well done. This movie is what I would call, once again until the final shot, a perfect film. I can't find any other fault. It's a 10 out of 10. Second up is A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge, and yeah, it looks like New Line Cinema agreed with me adoring the first one as much as I do, because they rushed this out a year later, and sometimes you can kinda tell. Now, I've seen a lot of people really hate this movie online, and I do get that. There's too many differences from the first one, mostly that pretty much all the dream sequences have been removed, and it's more about augmented reality and manipulation of the mind in this one for what Freddy does. But I still think it's a good way to take it. I honestly just miss Nancy throughout most of the film. I'm not gonna lie, she's an amazing final girl in the first film. And Yeah, Freddy's terrifying in this, just straight off the bat. Freddy is the scariest I think he's ever been in the franchise in this film. He doesn't crack any jokes or anything even slightly humorous. And the only thing that comes closest to a joke is that "you are all my children now" line. And yeah, that's one of my favourite lines in the franchise. I also really like Jesse, he's a good scream king, and a lot of the gayness of this movie, I honestly find it kind of funny. I quite like how gay this movie is for 1985. I am honestly shocked it was even able to be released in the way that it is at the time, and it's pretty cool for all that stuff. The main negative I honestly have with this film is it's really slow, and I do have a lot of problems with Freddy invading Jesse's body. Like I said, I like the concept, I just don't think it was executed properly. And a lot of the kills in this one seem a lot more half-hearted compared to the original, although the pool party massacre scene is great. I also kind of like the ending with Jesse's girlfriend basically saving him. It's cute and it's sweet, but yeah, I'd say overall this movie is good. It's a 7 out of 10, but definitely a step down from the first one. Dream Warriors is so much fun. If you had a lot of issues with the second one being a lot darker in tone and a lot more, slow, this one is much more for you. I love Dream Warriors just straight off the bat. I love the cast in this one. The ensemble group is a really good way to take a Nightmare on Elm Street film. Every single character gets time to flesh themselves out, show how important they are to the plot and how much they care for each other. I don't feel like any of them are just left in the dirt for someone else to take center stage. Each one brings something unique and each one is really fun to watch. And once again, in a slasher movie, having good characters, that's a rarity. I even love Dr. Gordon, the main psychologist at their institute. It's cool. I like him. He's fun for the most part. Trust me, I'll get to that. And Nancy's return along with her dad, awesome to see. I really love it. Freddy this time is so much fun. This is when they started leaning a lot more into the comedy aspects in the first movie compared to the really dark tone of the second one. There are so many incredible one-liners, and of course, you can't forget the "Welcome to Primetime" bitch line. It's iconic. It is probably up there in my top 3 Freddy lines, and yeah, there's definitely a reason for it. This movie is just so much fun. The kills are a lot more unique compared to part 2. They're a lot more interesting to see, and all the dream sections in this one, really damn good. I love the dream powers, and I honestly love the ending, even if it does break my heart. No spoilers. My main issue honestly comes from some of the ways that mental health are treated in the film. Even from the actual psychologists and doctors, they seem to have a really negative reception around depression and suicide, almost like it's blaming the person for having a mental illness, which is not great. But still, this film's amazing. It's a 9 out of 10. The Dream Master is the 4th installment in the franchise, and a lot of fans say this is when it started going downhill. I honestly couldn't disagree more. I really like this one. It's really, really fun in all the dumb ways that I enjoy. There's a lot of stuff carried over from part 3, such as the ensemble cast, the dream powers, and a lot of the cheesiness in part 3 is amped up to about an 8, which, for me, I'm happy with. It's just really fun. So much of this movie is just cheesy. Very cheesy at times. I will state that when it comes to the characterization, the new group are nowhere near as good as the group from part 3, and the intro of this film basically makes a statement about the characters who survived part 3, which I'm still not 100% happy about, but fair enough. They also recast Kirsten, the final girl from part 3, and that's weird to me, but apparently it was something to do with her pregnancy, or she wasn't getting paid enough. I don't 100% know, but fair play. I don't mind Tuesday Night replacing Patricia Arquette, so it's good with me. I also really like Alice, even if the acting in the film isn't great. She's just kind of a fun, lovable, quirky character that I really enjoy seeing, so I don't mind her at all compared to other people. The main issue I have with this movie is sometimes the quirkiness goes a little bit too far. I mean, you saw from what I played at the intro, Freddy putting the sunglasses on, that's from this one. And I love it, but at the same time, it does start to feel a bit like a slippery slope. Like I said, I disagree with fans saying this is when the series went downhill, but I will state I think this is when the building blocks for it going downhill start to form. I still love this one. It's a ton of fun, even if it is a bit cheap and cheesy, and it's the highest grossing slasher movie of the 80s, which is quite impressive. So with that, I have to give it an 8 out of 10. It's great. Surprise! We have a wildcard entry with the Freddy's Nightmares TV show, specifically the episodes No More Mr. Nice Guy and Sister's Keeper. Now, a lot of people were probably wondering why the hell this is here when I'm covering the movies. It's because these two episodes, in all honesty, are essentially a TV movie. Now, in case you didn't know, Freddy became massive after Part 3's big success. He already became pretty big after the first movie came out and continued without the second one. But due to Part 3, he just became a cultural icon. So he got his own TV show. It ran for 2 seasons and it's kind of fun. But it was mostly an anthology show which didn't really follow Freddy, apart from these 2 episodes and a couple of segments in other episodes. But with these ones, we basically get a prequel film. And that's why I wanted to cover it. And it's alright. I kind of like a lot of aspects of this little 2-part story. There's a lot of fun to be had. Robert Englund is incredible throughout, even if for the first half, he seems to not really care much during No More Mr. Nice Guy, and we don't even see his face. So to 100% honesty, I'm not even convinced it was always Robert Englund on set. Just him doing the voice or something. But the main issue I honestly have with this is during the first half. The second half is a fun Nightmare on Elm Street story with a really cool concept of twins, like, linking telepathically, and if one of them gets injured in the dream, the other one does as well. It's a really cool concept, and I honestly wish it was a full film. But with the first half, when we see Freddy's death and all that stuff, it's different to how it's been described previously in the franchise and after. It honestly seems like they were trying to say it from Freddy's perspective, so he's changed things to fit his narrative, but it's still a little weird. I still kind of enjoy this 2-parter and would recommend you watching it on the Internet Archive, so it's a 6 out of 10. It's decent. On to Part 5, and this is when I'd say the franchise started going downhill, in all honesty. A lot of the aspects of Parts 3 and 4 continue over here, such as the dream powers and the characters such as Alice and Dan, and those aspects are great as always. I really like those aspects. I still love Alice as a character, and she actually, in my opinion, gets much better in this one compared to her kind of iffy characterization in Part 4. The main issue, honestly, comes from the ensemble cast this time. The first group in Dream Warriors, really awesome, great, well-written characters. The group in Part 4, really fun, really cheesy, but at least entertaining. The 3 friends in this one, they're not that great. I mean, there is a 4th one, but she honestly gets hardly anything to do. And yeah, they're all really stereotypical. It was a problem that was starting to emerge with Part 3 and 4 of how stereotypical the characters are to fit their, like, nightmares. But with this one, it's stupidly blatantly obvious. Each character is basically given, like, one big personality trait, and that's it. If you're expecting more, then honestly don't, because that's about as much as we get. There's still a lot of fun to be had in this film. Freddy by Robert Englund is still really fun, really amazing to watch. All 3, like, murder dream sequences are honestly some of the best in the franchise, even if a lot of the, like, gore and stuff was cut due to the MPAA doing their usual thing. But yeah, honestly, the kills in this one are some of my favourite in the franchise, for some of the most elaborate special effects in the entire series. And the ending is weird, but in the way I kind of like. Honestly, the main issue of this film is it takes way too much from Looney Tunes. It starts to get really silly at times, and also is really boring at others. It's kind of a mess, so I have to give it a 5 out of 10. It's very mixed. And to essentially end off the original era, we have Freddy's Dead, the final nightmare, and yeah, the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise definitely did feel dead after this one came out. Wow. So what I said about Part 5 getting a bit Looney Tunesy, I did not really expect them to actually go full Looney Tunes with this one. There's Wile E. Coyote gags, there's weird, cheesy special effects, there's so much psychedelic stuff in this one. A lot of the gore's been trimmed down, but some of the parts trimmed massively up. It's very inconsistent. A lot of the other weirdness happens in this one, such as a massive time jump between this and part 5, where essentially the film opens saying, all the characters that you cared and loved about previously, they're gone now, don't worry about them, they're all dead. Anyway, here are these new characters, who are even more stereotypical somehow than the ones in part 5, which is, it's pretty impressive. The moment you meet all the characters who get killed off, you know exactly how they're gonna get killed off. Because the movie basically just directly tells you, hello, my name is Spencer, for instance. I don't like my dad. I like weed and video games. And you're like, oh, okay, so all 3 of those are going to be in your kill. Fun. That's basically like most of this movie. It's also tonally a complete mess. There is no horror anymore. Like I said, there's hardly any blood, hardly any gore. There's no scares at all. And it gets so ridiculously cheesy, and the acting in this one is really bad. Yavik Koto is the only one who carries this film as a psychologist, because everyone else just doesn't seem to care. And the special effects, when it comes to the attempt at, like, rudimentary 90s, not exactly CGI, oh, it's bad. And the backstory in this one, also really bad. This movie is just really bad, but it is kind of fun in a so bad it's good way. Even so, I've got to give it a 3 out of 10. It is still bad. Jumping forward about 3 years with Wes Craven's New Nightmare, the creator of the franchise, Wes Craven, basically went, nah, my franchise is not ending with that pile of shit, which is part 6. So we got this instead, one of the most meta, confusing, but genius movies I would argue has ever been made. There's no other film really like Wes Craven's New Nightmare. There's stuff that comes close, such as stuff set in our reality and stuff like Scream. But honestly, when it comes to Wes Craven's New Nightmare, it pushes the boundaries of reality versus film. It can get confusing at times, but in all the best ways. It's honestly difficult to describe unless you've watched it. But just to explain a little bit about the plot, essentially, the 6 Nightmare movies exist, as does the TV show, but they're movies and a TV show in this film. We follow the actors playing themselves in reality, as Freddy turns out to be like an entity that was trapped inside the movies and starts breaking out to cause havoc in the quote-unquote real world. And yeah, it's mental. It's absolutely insane as a concept. But since this is Wes Craven, he pulls it off. The man is just a genius, in all honesty. Heather Langenkamp throughout this film is incredible. John Saxon in this film is incredible. Robert Englund in this film is incredible. And even Wes Craven has a little cameo, which is fun. I honestly just find so many positives to this film. It feels like a proper step up when it comes to storytelling in the horror genre, and I really can't find fault in it. The only issues are some kind of dodgy special effects, but for a movie that only cost something like 10 to 20 mil, I can look past that, especially in 1994. And as a celebration of a 10-year anniversary, I think it does a perfect job. I genuinely adore this film almost as much as the first one, so I have to give it another 10 out of 10.
Let's get ready to rumble.
That's right, it's Freddy vs. Jason, which is probably one of the most anticipated horror movies throughout the 90s and the 2000s. And does it live up to the hype? No. I'm just going to say that straight off the bat. When it comes to human characters and the actual plot of this story, it's really bad. Like, if it was just that on its own, with no Freddy or Jason, this movie would probably be a 2 or 3 out of 10. Each character is absolutely horrific. I can't stand a single one of them. The acting throughout it is not that great. I mean, when Kelly Rowland is probably giving him the best performance of the human characters, something definitely doesn't seem right to me. And yeah, that's pretty much all the negatives, because the moment that Freddy or Jason is on screen, this film gets good, like really good, really damn fun. The kills in this one are so fun, even if some of the choppy slow-mo and dodgy CGI is kind of distracting. There's still so much blood and gore, especially in the final sequence. And yeah, I'm generally going to dedicate the next bit of this to essentially just talk about Freddy versus Jason moments. They're all good. I love the fact they're essentially 3 different rounds, almost like an actual fighting tournament. It's so much fun. Just seeing Robert Englund just chew up the scenery in every single moment he's in is so damn fun. I also really love Jason in this one, how he essentially just looks constantly confused and doesn't really know what to do, but then just sees Freddy and is like, I'll kill him. It's so much fun. All the stuff with Jason not liking water is really bizarre to me, but it honestly doesn't play much into the film towards the end, so I don't mind. And yeah, all the fights between them, really fun, amazingly choreographed and amazingly performed. This movie is a 6 out of 10. It is decent. I just wish the human characters were written better. And last but not least, we have A Nightmare on Elm Street's remake, done by Platinum Dunes, the same people who made the Friday the 13th remake and the Texas Chainsaw remake. 2 films that, I'm gonna be honest, I like. I know a lot of people don't, but I quite like the remake of Friday the 13th, and I honestly really enjoy the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake. So, why this film is so horrific, I do not understand. One thing I'll state, Jackie Earle Haley, who replaces Robert Englund as Freddy, doesn't do a bad job. I think he does quite well given the material he had to work with, and I do find him creepy and scary at times, which is good. The main issue honestly starts coming from, once again, the human characters. I don't care about any of them. None of them seem to actually want to be there when it comes to the actors. They all look bored and confused most of the time. The only one is Kyle Gallagher, who seems to actually give a single shit, and yeah, it's a shit. It's not, more than that, but it's also not less. And they made Freddy a paedophile, which I know some people will state that was the original plan for the first movie, done by Wes. But he cut that out for a reason. We can't root for Freddy. We can't enjoy any scenes with Freddy in this, because it's just tainted by the fact he was a damn paedophile. It just ruins it. And all of the fact that just almost every scene just remakes something from the first 4 movies, but does it with this horrific, glossy-looking CGI. Yeah, it's bad. The only mild positive I can give is the kind of dreaming whilst awake thing, which is a cool concept, but it doesn't really go anywhere. No one's killed because of it, so it just seems like some of it should have just been left on the cutting room floor. This movie is genuinely appalling, and is the main reason why I think I hate remakes, so it's a 1 out of 10. This is the worst of all time. And sadly, that's where it ends for A Nightmare on Elm Street. We've been told for years about a sequel to be a remake, or a brand new remake, or a straight-up reboot, or a direct sequel, and it's even gone back to the Craven estate now, so they can make whatever they want, but as of this moment, that's it. And it's kind of a shame that it's currently ending on that film. I mean, you can look at my ratings here. Even the ones I don't like, such as Freddy's Dead, at least have some good qualities that I can really enjoy. But yeah, the 1 out of 10, I know some people are going to say I'm overreacting, but like I said, the original is my favourite film of all time, and the remake basically just does everything that the first one does wrong. It just doesn't get it. And changing over to the rankings, the first and the 10th one don't even change places. It was pretty obvious why. And just for a little bit of fun, let's go through them. So in 10th place, A Nightmare on Elm Street remake. 9th place, we have the interesting Freddy's Dead. In 8th place, we have The Dream Child, aka Nightmare 5. In 7th place, we have the 2 TV episodes, No More Mr. Nice Guy / Sister's Keeper. In 6th place, we have Freddy vs. Jason. In 5th place, we have Freddy's Revenge, aka Nightmare 2. In 4th place, we have The Dream Master, which is funny because it's also the 4th film. Same thing with the 3rd one, which is in 3rd place with The Dream Warriors. 2nd place is Wes Craven's New Nightmare. And at number 1, we have the original A Nightmare on Elm Street. Honestly, in my opinion, that movie is gold. And even though I think the sequels vary massively in quality, especially after the 4th one, I still love this series despite my massive hatred for the remake. I honestly find myself watching through them at least once every year or so. And yeah, it's just really fun to do, especially when it comes to the first 8 films, not including the TV show. I just find them fun to go through, watching the journey of the franchise, trying new things every time. No Nightmare on Elm Street film is the same as the one that came previously. There's always some kind of new gimmick or something interesting to add. Even with the horrific remake, they at least have that awake dreaming stuff. It just kind of carries on with the franchise. There's never a copycat film. There will always be something unique and something that some people enjoy and some people don't. And do you know what? Even for the ones I don't like Freddy's Dead, I'm glad they exist because someone will get a kick out of them. And I think that's the best thing when it comes to the Nightmare movies. Someone somewhere will enjoy every single one of these, and I am so happy for those people. But sadly, that's it. Hopefully one day we do get a proper new installment of the Nightmare on Elm Street films. I'm hoping for a Halloween 2018 situation where we get a reboot, which is also a sequel, because that'd just be cool. I also wouldn't mind if they cut off any of the sequels, but I'd also be happy if they kept them all, including Freddy's Dead, just because it'd be funny. But yeah, thank you very much for watching this video. Like I said at the start, if you do enjoy it, please be sure to like, share and subscribe. Next week, we're going to finally be covering Class, so don't worry, I promise I'm finishing off for Doctor Who's this month, and then in December, I'm going to be looking at the Home Alone franchise, because why not? It's Christmas. And I also have a secret video that'll also be coming out in December, which is taken a lot of work and has been very stressful, and I've had to constantly keep going on my antidepressants, and yeah, but hopefully it's going to be worth it, so I'll see you all then. Have a good one, and good night. Toodles.